In terms of the oil companies, if you look at what Iraq did, the vast majority of the big contracts were done in 3 and soon to be 4 transparent auctions, bidding rounds. Now, the bidding rounds themselves were transparent. Very little has been transparent after that. The contracts have not been published. You don't know what's inside the contracts. But the bidding parameters for the contracts, oil and gas, were how much oil, what's the production plateau, oil or oil equivalent a company would produce or this project area would produce, and the remuneration fee, which is how much you were willing to accept from the government and how much the government was willing to pay for each increased barrel of oil or oil equivalent. And so, although there were 46 companies overall pre-qualified to participate in the bidding process, and what we saw is of the 14 contracts awarded altogether, there's one American company that has an operator role, which is ExxonMobil, and then there was one that has a junior stake, which is Occidental. And the rest are a combination of the Turkish companies have a massive presence, or the Turkish Petroleum Corporation. Let's see. And then the state companies from Malaysia, from China, have the biggest, I think, participation. I mean, you have BP and Shell. You have the Angolan company with two contracts, but it kind of spans the globe to an extent.
Turkey or China or Malaysia?
See, Turkey has 2 oil contracts. Is a participant in 2 oil contracts and 2 gas contracts. I think Petronas has 4, and then Chinese companies, I believe, 4. So yeah, I mean Turkey and China. I just don't have the makeup of the contracts in front of me.
There's a question back
here.
You
can find it at Iraq Oil Report.
No. Andrew Parasolidi with the ISS. Hi.
Hey, Andrew.
Ben, could you tell us a little more about the issue of the legal framework for oil deals and the revenue sharing issue, specifically in terms of the politics between Baghdad and Erbil? Where does this stand? There was an agreement in January for some of the companies operating in the Kurdistan region to be paid for expenses, but not for profits, I think.
Right.
What has to happen next, and what do you think will happen, actually?
I'm not going to predict what will happen, because the odds are just stacked against you if you're predicting about what happens in the country. I think it's too generous to say that a deal was reached between the KRG and Baghdad. There was some agreement that the companies who have been operating 2 oil fields would be paid their costs. Okay, but what are the costs? That has to be audited. Who's going to audit it? The KRG would like to do the audit without it being checked. The Board of Supreme Audit in Baghdad says that they have, for the past 60 years, have the obligation to audit where the money comes from and where it goes to, and it's unlikely that that's going to be resolved. I don't think that there hasn't. These 2 oil fields produced and exported for about 4 months in 2009, and it's virtually the same agreement has been set up. A promise to do something in the future, a promise to sit down at the table to do this, and that's what's been happening. Kind of key decisions kicked down the road. Now, will the leadership of the central government and the regional government sit down and kind of compromise on some ways to move forward? It's very possible, but then it gets into the key issues which have eluded the country so far, which is, because there is no one law governing the oil sector that you can point to, and one body that you can, turn to answer these questions. You have various interpretations of what the Constitution authorizes and what the various laws, pre and post 2003, authorize. And so each side says, well, what I'm doing is legally allowed, and I have a whole group of lawyers who have written papers about this that we've paid to say we've commissioned to analyze and support our case, and so the issue of it gets basic, down to two basic issues: is what is the role of foreign oil companies in the Iraqi oil sector, and what is the extent of federalism in the country over that which is applied to a number of issues, but especially to the oil sector. And those two things have not been resolved yet, either in the constitutionally mandated amendments to the Constitution or the constitutionally mandated oil law and revenue sharing laws. I mean, these are things that just have not been fully addressed yet. Did I answer your question without making the predictions?
Yeah, the only specific question
Please.
I'd ask, just a quick follow-up, is has that agreement in January been implemented? Are those fields now exporting and those companies being paid?
Sure. Well, there's two answers, parallel answers to that question. Are those two fields exporting? Yes. Have they been paid, and has the agreement been implemented? You don't know because there's no transparency. What is the agreement actually? What did they sit down and sign? Who's going to be responsible for paying? And these are just questions that haven't been brought to light. But I assume that if they haven't been paid, you have about 2-3 months maybe before they say, well, we're not going to produce any more. We're not going to export any more oil.
Molly Williamson, MEI. While everybody is thrashing about on the ownership and revenue sharing issues that have been plaguing this poor industry and this poor country for so long, can you tell us if simultaneously, while all that's being worked out or not, that at least the domestic consumption of these traditional hydrocarbons are being put to greater provision of electricity for the population? Are people, as we go into the summer, going to have reliable access to electricity for air conditioning, for running their businesses, for... You're shaking your head. I'm done with my question.
It depends on...
What do you expect, Molly?
I mean, it depends on how you define reliable. If you have enough money to purchase 2 generators, or to buy into a neighborhood generator, and the people who operate the generators do so in a way that can survive the summer heat, then you can have reliable electricity, sure. But it's very expensive, not only the fuel, but we had a generator for our house, and that lasted maybe a month or two into the summer, and then we just purchased from a neighborhood generator, and we're paying extremely inflated prices because of the neighborhood we live in, which is outside of the green zone, I should add. We're paying for our house for our generator, which basically comes on whenever there's the city power turns off. We pay $900 a month, $900 a month, about $900 a month for
a house, which
is a house. Yeah, 4 bedrooms and a kitchen, and that's fine for during the outside of the summer, but when it gets very, very hot and you need more electricity, you need more there's more drain because of the number of air conditioners you will run. We'll see if that's enough. We may have to start paying a little bit more for additional amperes.
And how many hours a day do you have electricity?
From the city?
Yeah.
I think we've been averaging between 8 and 12 hours a day. It's difficult to tell because it's not on any sort of schedule. It turns off, and 2 minutes later the generator kicks on. And I haven't started keeping tab of that yet, but it'll go down during the summer. And our neighborhood is by far one of the best in the country